Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 11 of HHC Live. I'm Chris. I'm with my brother Jake. I'm with my brother Josh. We're here on a hopeful Sunday here in South Texas. Talking some Spurs with you guys. We had a crazy eventful week in Texas, even though Spurs basketball was pretty non-eventful. So hello to everybody. Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty sad that the snow's already gone because we're gonna have to go back to hot heat. But I'm glad to have my electricity in my house.
Yeah,
Man, I'm pretty good. I survived.
yeah, exactly. Hopefully everybody is doing okay. We woke up super early and went and braved the lines of HEB this morning, so everybody's trying to get back to normal and all that kind of stuff. So really appreciative to be back in our houses and have the lights on and all that good stuff. Thankful for health and all that as well. So hopefully everybody's doing okay. But like we were saying, in terms of Spurs, this basketball this week, a very uneventful week. It's in hindsight, most of our games probably would have got canceled anyway if they were here. Most of the Houston and Dallas games were getting postponed because of weather, but the Spurs were actually postponed and held up in Charlotte for a couple days for some health and safety protocols. So didn't get a chance. Last week, Jake manned the fort by himself on a one man show and did a good job of holding it down for us. So we thank him for that. But all of Jake's previews and all the things that he was talking about, none of those games even happened. So it's all good. Jake's week of videos didn't get a chance to shine a little bit.
I know, man. It was very upsetting whenever the electricity started going in and out. I really wanted to get my my single spotlight week, right? The week of Jake.
Yeah, he had his rollout all planned, his drop schedule for the week. So with that being said, we don't have too many games to talk about because we didn't play any games, right? So instead, what we're going to be doing, we'll probably have a shorter show, but we just wanted to make sure we got together and still try to keep our ball rolling, even through all the changes that we were going through as a state, weather wise. But what we were going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about some of the Austin players. Just this morning, we got some reports that Luka Samanic and Trey Jones were both being considered to be taken back from Austin and pull them up to the Spurs. So we'll talk a little bit about adding them back into our lineup. What kind of stuff can we hope to see from them moving forward? And then on the slate for this week's games, we are pretty thin again. We do have a scheduled game this upcoming Wednesday against the Oklahoma City Thunder, as well as on Saturday versus the New Orleans Pelicans. But again, it's looking like we'll most likely only be playing that one, I would imagine, but we'll get there here in just a little bit. So all right, well, let's just jump in. Again, it might be a little bit of a shorter show today, but we still want to get together and talk some Spurs. So we'll start up with Trey Jones and Luka and the work that they've been doing in Austin. So Jake, you got how do you want to do it? We're just going to look at some of their individual numbers.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of show up what our superstar Luka and our superstar Trey Jones in the G League have been doing.
Our G League superstars.
Yeah, there you go. They've been killing it, man.
Yeah, they have.
As you can see right here, Luka's been averaging 20. I would say 23 and 12 right here. And he's been doing it on some solid little efficiency. The one game that we had lost was I think the one game that he didn't even play. As you can kind of see right here, these are all W's right here that Luka was here. And he played well, man. I think the thing that I was looking forward to, and sadly we're not going to get to see it just because he's going to be coming up, is maybe just a little bit more efficiency. But you can see like 7 for 14 right here. Like I can't get really mad at 50% shooting. 60% right here. But like this one right here was 7 for 12, and even though he got 17 points and helped close out the game, maybe we can try and edge it down to where you can cut those down to like 18 and he's making like 9 of those 18 shots. So I think I was the one I had mostly been trying to keep up with the Austin Spurs these last couple of weeks to kind of like get a good feel to understand how our players are looking, and Luka's been at first it was like, oh man, anytime I saw Luka I didn't really like what I saw, but then that fourth quarter came and he was killing it. He did a lot of good stuff
Yeah,
in the fourth quarter.
in that first game, right? Can you go down to the first game?
You want his like stat line for the first game?
Yeah, he had
He had 20 points on 35% shooting.
yeah,
He also had
with the 17 boards.
rebounds and 6 assists.
Yeah,
So,
see, because that's the only game that I got a chance to watch, right? Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch too much of these guys, just like keeping up on my phone and stuff with stats. But I did get to watch that first game, and he struggled like 1 through 3, and in that fourth quarter, man, he came on and he was going to work. It was nice to see that. Nice to see him. Nice to see him like take control of that team and use his size, because he played good. He played real good that night.
yeah, exactly. And this entire Gubble showing that he's had, like I've been real happy seeing him in a sense take over in those fourth quarters. Like even when he hasn't had a smooth 1 through 3, that fourth quarter was him, like, we started running the offense through Trey and him, and they were doing their pick and rolls, and it had solid looks the entire time. And like I said, I think at the moment, the next step that I want to see is just a little bit more efficiency from him, because he's shown so much in this Gubble showing. Like he's been balling out.
Yeah, and obviously his looking forward, his shot attempts are going to change when he goes to the Spurs, so efficiency would bode well. But it's kind of crazy. Like, I wonder how many other teams, or like, I guess I'd say how many other like fan bases like are that critical of like these assignments. Because like as soon as Luka and Trey both got assigned to Austin, you know how it was like, okay, here, like immediately everybody's eyes got trained on like, okay, this is it, like this is going to be a good opportunity for us to see like what kind of stuff can they bring. So yeah, it's been fun. I agree with what you guys are saying about like, it's been fun to see Luka take more like assertive roles and play a little bit more assertively. And I've been really enjoying some of the things he's been saying, like in his interviews, specifically like about wanting to step out of his shell a little bit, and talk a little bit more and be a little bit more vocal. And I know that that's something that like he's a younger kid, he's from another country too, right? So it's like, I could see why you kind of take a back seat and kind of let the game come to you, or let just everything, your new culture, your new life kind of come to you a little bit. So I'm excited to see him now that hopefully he's more settled into just his life in a different place, that he's ready to kind of like push himself forward a little bit. Because yeah, man, watching him, he's got like a real quick release on that 3-pointer, like watching those kind of things, you see it, you're like, okay, if we can just get even like in this stage of like this season, you're like, man, if we could just get like maybe 2 of those a game, I feel like that could help us. You know what I mean? Like even if they're just swing plays or whatever.
I thought maybe he got a little bit of a growth spurt. I thought when we drafted him, he was 6'8", and I always had the idea of just seeing him as like a 6'8", 4'3" guy. And I still kind of see him as the 4'3", if anything. But I'm seeing that he's 4'10", and the play style that he has, I'm definitely seeing him being like a solid 4, like just sitting at that power forward spot the entire time, and being able to provide the spacing that we really do need.
Yeah, I think like in years past,
man body before he goes down there and bangs with them fours, if that's what he wants to play, because he's kind of a little guy right now.
Yeah, and I think he had mentioned that too. He had said like he's hoping to like continue to grow his body physically and all that kind of stuff.
He needs to get in the weight room with KJ.
Yeah,
then he'll be all right.
Yeah, that's for sure. But he did a decent amount of like some
Mariah Carey.
Yeah,
he did a decent amount of post work in some of the highlights that I was watching too. I like how I was telling Jake, I like how the G League YouTube channel has like the condensed games, so they're like 15 minutes long or whatever. So if you're if you ever miss any of that, or want to check out the G League stuff, just go to their YouTube channel, because Yeah, real easy way to catch the gist of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Luca's been doing really well, and Luca is a spot that, I think most people are looking at him a little bit more than Trey, just because we have a positional need for him right now. Plus, he's been here a couple years, so I think, this is his couple years. So, I think we're ready to see like what can he do for us now. I mean, Trey is a little bit more like, okay, we know we have so many guards, we know we can give him a little bit more time. Trey's energy. That's been super fun to watch too, because you only see some highlight plays of him in college, or if you're like me, you didn't watch him play in college, but like you see some highlight plays, and then he's just been doing a lot of sitting, so it's been really good to see him run.
Yeah, and you're right. I think a lot of us have been giving him a ton of, like, we want to see Luca do a lot of things, and we just haven't really been paying too much attention to Trey. But Trey's been killing it. Trey has shown me like a lot of like what I've kind of been expecting of just like what we would see in the future for him. And one thing that I love seeing, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he spent 2 years at Duke, and obviously that kind of makes him in a sense just like how Derek was when he came into the league, already a little bit polished, right, and just needing a little bit more, just needing like less time than others to get himself ready. But like still, like, I mean, I see him come out here, and he's not afraid to take the ball in his hands. He's not I'm whatever like our staff in Austin has been telling him, like, he's been stepping up to that role. He's been stepping up to whatever they need him to do. And as you can see, he's averaging 18, 5, and nearly 10. 18, 5, and 10, like, is great for a second round draft pick. But obviously this is G League, right? And even if that gets cut down by like to like, and this is talking about like him being more refined and polished, like in a couple years, right? But even if this kind of cuts down to like a 9, 3, and 5, you know what I mean? That's still good off the bench. That's still the kind of numbers that you would see his brother Tyus would do as the backup point guard, you know? So it's the kind of stuff that I'd love to see.
Yeah, and it's been I've been enjoying, because we've seen him a couple times come in, but it's usually been he gets like a minute, 2 minutes at the end of the game or whatever. But even in those 2 minutes, that dude takes the ball and tries to make something happen, right? Like even when he would only get like 2 possessions in a game, you would see him try to make one play, which is great. So it's been cool to see, like, he's still he has that go get it nature in his game, but he just, this is his opportunity to do it for like a whole bunch of a lot more time. So yeah, I've been really excited with the energy he brings. He reminded me a lot like Witherspoon. Witherspoon was really poised when he came in too. He was very calm. And Trey, even though Trey runs, he doesn't. He doesn't feel frantic, but he kind of looks a little frantic, which is good.
It kind of makes me wonder what they're gonna do with those guys, with Q and Trey, right? Because Patty's not gonna be here forever, so it's kind of a up in there, right? What are we gonna do? Are we gonna go with Q? Or are we gonna go with Trey?
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun to see where our organization wants to go. Whether Q's gonna get his opportunity somewhere else, or we're gonna keep both of them, or because we're guard heavy,
Yeah.
So unfortunately,
I think
somebody's
Q,
gonna have to go.
I think Q is more of a. I feel like I see him be more of a shooting guard than I see him be of a like, have the ball in his hands, set up the play, point guard.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Trey is that guy that we're kind of building up. I've said this multiple times that like I feel like Trey fits the timeline better in that sense. We have Q on 2-way contracts, but we signed Trey to a 3-year deal because, like, I mean, like you said, Patty's not going to be here forever, and then whatever we end up doing with DeJounte and Derek, 3 years down the line, hopefully they'd still be on our team. But like, I feel like having three three guards like that can hold the ball in their hands and start a play for us will be perfect. And that kind of, in that sense, like if we have a starting unit of Derek and DJ and then have Trey come off the bench like that, I feel like that in 3 years' time, I could see that happening, and we finally give Trey, like he'll have his opportunity to be the backup point guard and lead that second unit for us, you know?
Yeah, I could see that, and it's crazy to think like how much that can change, because like last year, in my head, I thought all of what you're saying, I could already kind of see Witherspoon sliding into that position, just because he, again, like every time that he got out there, it was like, man, this guy is just very calm. This guy is very smart. And so you feel like you could trust him in a limited role to not make mistakes. You know what I mean? So I was excited to see like his progression, because every time I feel like even like his from his first year to his second year, I was like, dang, even though you don't see him a lot, you could tell he got better, which is great. But now like now with Trey is like almost you can feel like Trey taking that spot from Q a little bit. At least, and maybe it is like you said, the contract is something that gives you that indicator of like, well, they felt confident in him. So yeah, I agree. I can see him being that second PG here in a couple of years, especially if the Spurs. I mean, we've been talking a lot about wanting Derek and DJ to be separate from each other, but I don't know, man. It seems like San Antonio really wants them to start together and be together. So yeah. So then maybe we keep Trey. Well, you know, like Josh was saying about like, I wonder how we're gonna integrate him in with Q. Like we had said, just as of this morning, we had some reports that that Samanic and Trey are looking to be possibly taken out of the Austin team and brought back to San Antonio, which makes sense. You know, we're coming off of missing some games with health and safety protocols. So, you know, there might be a game where your number of healthy players just like all of a sudden gets taken out by two. So some depth, I think is, you know, a smart thing.
They haven't announced anything on who had it, huh? I know it came out and said players.
No.
I think
DeJounte did put on his Instagram story that he was locked up in a hotel for 24 hours and he didn't even have it. So I know DeJounte is good.
So we know, as I say, we know DeJounte is good. We also, I can't remember what they're saying. Obviously, Trey and Luka are fine. And then,
but also it's it could be one player, but that one player that everybody that he was around now has to just be in their room.
And then also LaMarcus, because LaMarcus wasn't with us at all for that trip. So it's like the four of like DeMar, Keldon, Devin, Derek, Yak, or I think they said Yak might be fine too. Lonnie might be fine too. Lonnie literally tweeted out that he was driving the other day, so I think he's fine.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we'll figure it out. We'll see it as it goes through. Of like, you know, but I guess it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who had it or who doesn't. But you know, it's crazy to think like the two. Okay, so we had another time that we had to postpone some games, and that was right when like Derek White was getting ready to try to come back, and so it was like, okay, or maybe he had just missed that other game or something. So it almost felt like it was going to give us a little bit more time to let White, you know, recover and from his injury and come back. And so now it's kind of the same thing. We were missing LA for a little bit, and now that's just like a little bit extra time, rehab time for him. So I mean, we kind of had a feeling he was going to miss like this upcoming week that, you know, that we ended up missing anyway for weather. But you know, maybe now we'll get a chance to get him back a little bit sooner than we originally thought. But so if we're talking about bringing in Luka and Trey, you know, to kind of help us fill out the roster if we're going to be down a couple people, I don't know. Like, do you think we're sliding in Luka? We're like, I don't know. Let's start with Luka. I think Trey's a little bit easier to plug. He's a backup point guard. But like Luka, like what kind of lineups do you see him with? Like, where would you slide him in?
Rudy. I would. You try to give him Rudy's minutes. I would say, or play Rudy's role, and then we'll see where Rudy fits in, or maybe play Luka at the 3 and Rudy at the 4, depending on who our personnel is.
check into the lineup.
Yeah, that'll be big. But Luka can move. Luka's not a he's not one of those. He doesn't have like tree stumps for feet. He could slide around out there. I think he will be able to play three in some games depending on who we're playing. So I mean that would be nice. I would not mind seeing Luka try his hand at some of the three. That way maybe he could play outside and try to use his speed a little bit, or he has a nice jump shot. So like he could do a lot of things that he showed in Austin that hopefully he could bring. Maybe it's just a confidence booster just to come in here and be like, hey, those are like some NBA prospects too that I'm balling out on. So hopefully he comes over here and shows that he could do it as a first round pick,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing, like, I mean, I want to see some PT for him, but at the same time, I think it's hard to see it because of how many forwards we have for the four at the moment. Which, I mean, if we move KJ to the 3, then it obviously makes it easier for us to kind of slide him into backup minutes. But still, the fact that we have Rudy, KJ, and Trey all playing, all fighting for minutes at that 4 spot right now, I don't think we'll be able to find any time for him at the moment. But if we do see, like, I don't know, maybe we just see like a rest period for like Rudy and DeMar, 1 game, something like that, and we see KJ move to the 3, then I could hope. I would definitely love to see Luka run that backup unit with Lonnie, Devin, and Patty, and then obviously whoever our backup 5 is, which is like either going to be Yak or Drew.
Yeah, and to be honest, wherever Luka's in, I want to see a little bit of that Drew Eubanks, a little bit of that, like, just be running a little bit faster than everybody else on the court, and even, you know what I mean, like, we've kind of had like this ongoing at the beginning of the year. It died down whenever KJ started to go into his slump a little bit, but it was almost like every other game you would get some funny image of a player looking at Keldon like, what the heck is this guy's problem? Because Keldon would just always be running and always be yelling and always be, you know what I mean? And I want to see that a little bit from Luka, man. I want people to be like, man, this guy's working really hard right now. Like, even if their face is saying like, why are you working so hard? You know what I mean? Who cares?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to see. I mean, obviously, if we're bringing them back, it's most likely because we're gonna need the depth, for like numbers and stuff like that. And obviously, you don't want like injuries or safety and health to be like the reason that these guys are getting opportunity. But I mean, if we're gonna be down any people, then I want them to really step into that role as opposed to like just being a body that's filling in minutes.
Like, yeah, exactly. Be ready to put in that. Yeah, exactly. Like, be ready to put in that work and not, like you said, like that, be that body.
Yeah, because
I think that's definitely something that, like, I saw a lot of that out of like Lonnie in his first season, stuff like that. Like, it's hard to remember like if DJ was doing that kind of stuff, but like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean of like just seeing them kind of go out there and just kind of running with the flow instead of like. And obviously, you don't have to show out. You don't have to like try and make a big play or anything like that. But putting in that extra effort to kind of show like, yo, I'm ready to be on this court for however many minutes that you want to give me. I definitely get what you mean. Because Drew was definitely one of the first people that I ever saw, like, put that effort out there. He was definitely one of those people that's like, I got to fight for my minutes in these garbage time minutes because this is like the only chances that he can get. So
yeah, and the Spurs for the longest time have been a little bit of like that legacy thing of like, our starting minutes have been spoken for a long time. You know what I mean? Nobody's questioned LA's starting role since he showed up. You know what I mean? So it's good to see, like, we're not necessarily in that moment anymore. Like, if you want a starting role on the Spurs, you can come and take it if you come and show out. So I mean, yeah, I'm excited to see that kind of stuff from Luka moving forward. Before we jump in again, we figure this week would be pretty light. But another like bit of talk that's been going around is just a little bit more. We're getting closer and closer to the trade deadline, so obviously those talks are going to continue to fly, and the Spurs name doesn't fly into other teams' mouths very often, but we did see a couple reports. Miami was one, with Rudy Gay being a name that was kind of revolving around that. So I mean, I don't know. Are there any particular ones that anybody wants to highlight? If we starting with that Miami Rudy one, I mean, I don't know. Would you be willing to give up any of our guys at this moment? We have, you got Patty, you got Rudy, DeMar in LA. That's kind of like where you start, I think.
I'll give up Rudy for Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson.
And Duncan Robinson, that's it. I would take no trade that Miami has to offer unless they included one of those guys. Like, I don't want Kelly Olynyk. I do not want that.
I'll have to, like, because we talked about this the other day. You said Kelly Olynyk. I'll go ahead and like bring like the situational trades, right? So the first situational trade that I could think of was Rudy for Kelly Olynyk and either a young player in KZ Opala or Precious Achua. I would personally want Precious over KZ. KZ's more of I think like a 6'8" forward, if I'm or a 6'7" forward. He's like a small forward type of player. I think more defensive. And Precious is just another young Bam Adebayo on the making. He's another 6'8" center, really, that can't really shoot outside, but brings a lot of like intensity inside. And obviously he doesn't have the ball handling or the playmaking that Bam has, but like it's something that he definitely build moving forward. And so the two, like that situational trade would literally be Rudy for Kelly Olynyk to match contracts and then get a young player out of it, or just trading Rudy for Kelly Olynyk and like a second or two.
Now is that just like strictly a numbers kind of thing? When you're saying like this is who I would take, or are you saying this is just I guess what I'm trying to say is like, okay, Spurs right now are what, in sixth spot.
Mm-hmm.
But out of like that competitive pack, we're doing a pretty good job of winning the games we need to win. And I think at the beginning of the year, most people said like, all right, as we approach trade deadline, if we're in the hunt, this is kind of the mindset we'll have. And if we're falling back to like that 7-8 spot, this is the mindset we'll have. And if we're way out of it, this is the other mindset we'll have. So, I mean, we're kind of at the top of that list right now. So like, is that what's like, is that stopping you guys from wanting to get rid of some of our guys like Patty and Rudy?
Yep.
Well, I mean, I've already told y'all that I don't like this year. Doesn't really matter for me. Like I said at the beginning of the year that we weren't making the playoffs, and we might. And if we do, that's awesome. But at the same time, like I don't think that this is just a transitional year. This is just a year that we're gonna kind of develop our players and then just keep moving forward from there. And the trade that I was saying wasn't necessarily for us in that sense. It was just like, this is what I see for the Heat. They're a team that wants to be contending. They made it to the finals last year.
Are they even in the playoffs right now?
I think so. I think Jimmy Butler has been carrying them with like he didn't get a triple double last night, but he had been getting like
he had back
Miami at currently they are in the 10th spot.
Yeah, they're not. It's for them to go after Rudy and think that he's going to make the difference makes no sense to me, because they're not even there. They're not fighting for a top spot. They're not even in the playoffs right now.
Look at the beginning of their
season. They're like a game out. They're like a game out of the 8th spot.
Jimmy was hurt, right?
Like at the beginning of the season, their team just wasn't fully healthy. This is like the first
Miami can go back.
I don't know if they can go back to the finals. I really don't. Because
that's the thing. They shouldn't. I don't think they should make any moves. Well, I mean,
but I mean, they're only right now they're only 2 games. They're 2 games out of the 8th spot, or they're 1 game out of the 8th spot. They're only 2 games out of the 6th spot. They're only 2.5 games out of the 4th spot.
I mean,
They're only 3 games out of the 3rd spot.
It's all tight for us, right? So are we, right? We're like 3 games out of the
So I mean, you know, you can't really judge the seeding as harshly as you normally would.
I mean, like the Heat literally, if the Heat literally made it to the finals with that roster last year, that means that they have a roster that's at least good enough to make it to a East Conference, maybe finals again. But what do you mean it's different? They have the same team. If this team made it. No, they I feel like I get what you're saying, that the bubble is different, but it's still the same team that made it to the finals. You still have to take into account that they were able to beat a team like the Celtics and the Bucks. Like, it's not
and really it was during the playoffs that they really started to show like their playoff poise, because it was right. It was like they handled their business pretty well. Like in the playoffs, like it looked like they did a good job of focusing in on their opponent, doing their job, moving on to the next.
And I think that helped the young people like Tyler Hero. Like, I think that did help them, because there was nothing for them to do. There's no travel. There's no stress like that. They really go play a game and they go home like in their room and they're coming back. Now with all this thing, you see Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero, they're not the same. This whole season, they're not the same. And they've been talking about it, like, what's wrong with these guys? What's wrong with these guys? They're not playing the same. Like, I do think that it was different. I think that bubble atmosphere helped some people. And like, I don't know if we're going to get fans. Like, I don't know, I know some teams have like limited fans already. Yes. So that I feel like everything's going to change, like everything, especially going forward. Hopefully, right. The pandemic, it's I don't know. I can't speak on the pandemic, right? But if fans start coming back and those home courts start meaning something, like, I don't see Miami there at all. I do not.
I don't know. I
don't think they're beating. I don't think they're beating Boston in Boston with
either way. The point is that they're a team that should be trying to contend, and trading Kelly Olynyk for Rudy Gay makes them better. Now, putting them over the hump or not isn't what they're looking for. It's just honestly, it's just to make them a better contender.
Yeah, and even if you use an expiring contract like Rudy Gay just to show a guy like Jimmy Butler, hey, even in a year like this year, we're still going to try to make it better. Just to keep your star appeased throughout the rest of this year, to move, with hopes that you're going to re-sign him and keep him for years after. So I mean,
is Kelly Olynyk expiring too?
Yes.
So do you think Kelly Olynyk makes us better?
That's what I'm saying. That for the Heat, the trades that I'm saying is that for the Heat, it's for them to be a better contender. Like, that's the whole point of the talks. The talks aren't us saying that we want Kelly Olynyk. The talks are the Heat saying that they want Rudy Gay. Yeah. And so I'm saying that, like, the trades that I was putting out of us trading Rudy for Kelly Olynyk in those seconds, that obviously I don't think it does make us any better. It might not make us that much worse, but like, those seconds are literally just it's just for us to keep building. It's just because, we're not a team. If from what I'm seeing, like, we're not a team that wants to commit to a rebuild. So then we have to make those little trades to get those pieces to keep retooling.
Yeah, but again, like what you're saying about not wanting to do a full rebuild.
I think you can overdraft. I do think you can overdraft. Like, if we have our pieces and we think that we're going to move forward with our pieces, then there's no need for draft picks.
Yeah, and also, like, if you're saying, like, we don't really want to do a full rebuild, but losing a player for picks is a concession in some form or fashion, because you're saying, I'm gonna give up this for some return later. You know what I mean? So it is. So I mean, I think if we were hesitant to go into a rebuild, we would be hesitant to give up our expiring deals for picks. You know what I mean? And on top of that, like I was saying, I think that the Spurs are still in a position where, like, we need all of our vets, because we're still winning games. We're right in the thick of it. And, I think that they agree, everybody knows we're in that transitional year. So it's like, I feel more confident. I know people like never want to let people just walk away for free, you know what I mean? But it's like I feel confident if we make it to the second round of the playoffs this year and we lose in like 6 games or something, and we let Rudy and Patty and LA all do their own thing, or they all choose to do something else, it's not gonna like I'm not gonna feel like, oh my god, we just got finessed out of like all kinds of shit, you know what I mean? Like part of my language, but you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna feel too bad about it. Like they served their time with us. They did what they could do with us. We had a plan for them, which was to be the veteran leadership. We also knew that where our expectations were. So like I don't know, like I feel like we're in a good position to keep all of our guys instead of allowing other teams to get over the hump with those pieces. I don't know if we really need to be fishing for seconds.
I feel the same way about like that you feel just about Patty. Oh, I don't want Patty to leave, never. But about Patty and Rudy, like, but LaMarcus, he's just like, we talked about this before, right? And when like, does he hurt? Like, is he? Do we think that, you know, is he hurting us playing? Even though he's producing, is he hurting us? And that's how I feel about LaMarcus. If I could trade him and get something for a guy that to me is not doing it for us right now, that's the only person I would trade right now. Like on this trade deadline, I would look to trade LaMarcus. And it's like I love what he's done for us in the past, right? It's hard to see any of these guys go that's been here forever, but I think it's just time for us to move on from LA. And I would take, man, I don't even know what I would take for that guy right now. I guess we would just have to see what comes out, or if there's any talks. There might not be, but I don't know.
You mean like a market for him?
Yeah, like to see what we can get in return, because I think y'all have brought up his contracts earlier, and it was like 23, right? Around 23 or something like that. What he was going to make.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to want to take that on. I know it's expiring anyway, so it's kind of just like, you know, yeah, we'll pay you this season, and then you do what you got to do. Or
yeah, 24 million.
Okay, so 24. You know, I don't know what team's going to want that. But if there's anybody like on our roster right now that I would look to move to help us, would be LA. Because I think if we lose Rudy, if we lose Patty, if we lose anybody trading, like anybody else on this roster, it's going to hurt us. And the only person that I can see that we can get value in, you know, coming back into our organization would be LA. That won't hurt us too much.
Honestly. Yeah, I would agree. And like you said, it does suck, because, you know, you want to see them do good, especially if they've been with us for multiple years, because you want to be able to show that their hard work, or you want their hard work to like pay off finally, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you know, and you know, we had talked a little bit last week maybe, or no, that was Jake was by himself, or no, I think I had like sent in a message or something like that, just about like LaMarcus Aldridge, his current like market value. I mean, he's literally hurt right now, like, you know what I mean? It's like, what are we gonna try how are we gonna convince somebody to like take this guy? He's not even playing right now. So I mean, we had mentioned the idea of, do you think he would be open to showing himself as a bench player? You know what I mean? So, yeah, he's making 24 million this year. It's his last year making that kind of money. I doubt he gets that next year, no matter where he goes or where he's at. But I mean, I don't know. Like, do you think that it could be a win-win of like him coming back from injury, like his second injury already from preseason till now,
and his third from bubble, right? Like he was hurt the whole bubble. He didn't play for
I was maybe I'm missing one then, because I was just thinking about like the preseason one that he had going from the bubble all the way into preseason, and then this one. But I mean, I think maybe it could be a win-win, right? Of like, okay, you're gonna come back, but we're gonna put you on the bench, and maybe this is your opportunity to show your value to other teams, because, you know, as a starting big man, I think most people know what they're getting from you. You know what I mean? And so it's like, what else can you bring to the table in this part of your career? Are you going to be able to switch your game up a little bit to keep your career going? Yeah. So maybe you know, Josh, what do you
to DeMar? I'm sorry. You see what's happening to Cousins, man. He's a big man that's a little bit slower, just like LaMarcus. That has a 3-point game, just like LaMarcus. and he's getting cut.
Yeah,
He's getting cut.
and we saw his
Yeah, but that's two different
career
situations.
happen. We saw, yeah, but we saw, like, what was it, like 2 or 3 years ago, where it was like he got the deal, got hurt, got
Mhm.
released, signed the other deal. Like it was immediately like he went from that hot commodity to like that tradable commodity, like real quick. And it was just the combination of his injury and the game changing, and that's kind of where LA's at too.
Yeah,
I still
you're
think
saying
I
it's,
think
it's,
I
it's
think
not a whole
that's two different.
situation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
They
The
just said
Rockets
they
are
just
not
said
in any situation that we are in
no,
right now.
no,
Because
but
the
the
Rockets
Rockets.
literally. So the thing that I don't understand is like the Rockets guaranteeing the deal and cutting him,
They're just
or like
guaranteeing that they're just making sure that he's gonna get paid as an NBA player.
and
That's all.
and
That's
and
all it
and
was.
in that case, then that's cool, whatever. But like, obviously, he's not like, yeah, you're right. He's not a hot commodity, but and he is more tradable. You know, teams like the Lakers, like the freaking I don't know, the Nets. Maybe I don't know if DeMarcus Cousins personally wants to get to the Nets because of James Harden, but like you know those contending teams, even like the Celtics, right? The Celtics need a big man. They like, I'm sure you could steal something out of them for DeMarcus Cousins. So it's there's obviously something different going on
Well,
as to
yeah,
why
yeah.
he's getting cut instead
No,
of
well,
just being traded
you,
away.
you didn't see it. I mean, when it came out on Bleach Report yesterday, it said that the reason they're cutting him, which, and I was just trying to find it right now, and I cleared the notification yesterday, but it gave the reason. It said that
It
it
said
said
that
with
they're trying to go
With
smaller.
Christian Wood coming up, they want to go smaller and they want to go younger, which is the same situation as us. I mean, maybe we don't want to go smaller, but we're in our youth movement. He's older, he's getting hurt. Like we're phasing him out, and that's the way it is. Same thing for DeMarcus Cousins. He literally just got phased out with maybe Christian Wood just did it, himself coming over, but like he's just an older guy that's getting pushed out of the door because of the younger guys.
Yeah.
And
There's
and
still a market
we
value
don't.
for DeMarcus Cousins compared
Well,
to.
there's a market value for any. I think that like LA has a market
I
value
honestly
and
think
Cousins
that
has a
his
market
market
value.
value is honestly a little bit higher than LA.
Well,
Because
obviously,
what he can do.
LA, obviously,
Money
DeMarcus
wise.
Cousins is more desirable because he's way cheaper. Obviously, that's the biggest
Well,
difference. It's
yeah,
just the
but I'm talking
numbers.
play style. I'm literally talking play style. Like literally, like if DeMarcus Cousins now, I would say DeMarcus Cousins might be a little bit of a better defender than LA. I feel like both of them just aren't great defenders, right? Especially on that perimeter. Um, and then LA needs the ball in his hands and needs to get a rhythm going in order for himself to kind of like be that good impact on the offensive end. Whereas DeMarcus Cousins does not need to do that. He can still be a big body down low and can get you a couple offensive boards if need be, can get you a couple defensive boards if need be, and then he can still space the floor and run the pick and roll right. And then like I said, his defensibility is a little bit better than LaMarcus Aldridge. So that means that LA's I feel like LA's value just hasn't been there for anything like that. Like that's why I feel like the situation would be a little bit like in saying that like it is just a different case for both of those guys, because you're right, the NBA is changing, but DeMarcus Cousins' game still hasn't it hasn't gone to waste. Whereas like I feel like LA's game kind
Yeah,
of has
yeah,
been.
but we're talking about like I think all we're saying is that like DeMarcus Cousins went from being a focal point of any NBA roster that he was on to being a role delegated to a role player just because of his injuries and because of how the game is changing. And LA is still in a starter's capacity, but he is very similar to DeMarcus Cousins. Like he you could just feel it pushing it against him. You know what I mean? So yeah, he might be a few years. They might be furious separated in terms of their like journey through that process. But they're both NBA big men that are just more related to how NBA big men used to be versus how they are now. And so in that regard, they're just very similar. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I find it hard to see like what team would want to spend the money on that expiring deal to push them over the hump. to give us really anything for LA. I think our best bet is we need you to play really well. If you're trying to get an NBA contract next year somewhere, we want you to come back and we want you to help our guys as best as you can for the rest of this year, whether that be in the starting position or like me and Jake were kind of talking a little bit last week about, could we see him go onto the bench? Like, Josh, what do you think? Could you see him?
If he's going to come back and play that bench role, like this year, if he's going to come back and play the bench role, then that's fine. But do I think that he's willing to? I don't know. I don't know, because I've never seen LaMarcus like be like that kind of like a. I don't know how you say
like kind of hold out a little bit.
Kind of like, no, I'm a starter. Like I'm starting. Like I've never seen him. Like, how that Carmelo Anthony, like a couple of years back, he's like, what? I'm playing on the bench. What? Like, I don't see LA like that. So maybe he will come back and play on the bench. And if he does, I think that'll help us a lot. Like, I do think him in that role will help us way more than him playing 30 minutes a game. Like, if I'm going to have LaMarcus Aldridge out there for 15 minutes a night or 15 to 20 minutes a night, then that sounds great. Yeah. But I don't want him playing starter minutes.
And imagine if he can extend his own career 4 to 5 years by just doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah. And that sounds good. If he's willing to do that, then like that sounds great. But and then like you said, that will be a good opportunity for him, right? To say like, look, well, maybe I'm not that guy no more, but look what I can do for somebody else next season.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. Because again,
I guess I never thought about that, because I always just think of LA like on the floor for 30 plus minutes, right? But if he does come back and try like that, that'll be nice for him, and that'll help us too.
The one thing that we haven't even talked about, and I feel like this is definitely more, like this will happen before we even think about like trading him because of his market value, but like a buyout, like if it doesn't, like, honestly, if it doesn't work out, like let's just say that we do try that bench role and he does buy into it and it just still doesn't work out, I feel like the buyout would be the next best thing. Just let him go to a contender, let him do his thing for the rest of the year, and we get to just kind of move on from it, but like a little bit earlier.
But what is...
Because think about it. If he's going to be,
no,
it
doesn't benefit us none.
It would have to be him going.
It does benefit us. It does benefit us.
Okay, but here's the thing though. It does benefit us, but only in the sense that we would have to be playing really bad for us to consider buying him out. So it would benefit us because it would make us better, but only because we're playing really bad to get to that position. If he's being a net negative, if he's been a net negative in a sense as our center, as our starting center so far this season, and then now he's hurt and we're winning games again. If we go back to being like we were before, then that means that we got worse with him being back in our lineups, and buying him out would make us, have that fighting chance that y'all want, So. Well, but again, I think there's just a lot of steps before we would get there. Like we would have to.
I think the buyout should be, in a sense, that second or third step after he comes back into the lineup for the next like month,
So let's say he comes back in, he's a starter and he doesn't play well. Do you take him to the bench or do you go straight to the buyout?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we put him in back as a starter, I feel like, in my opinion, that's him telling us he doesn't want to be on our bench.
I mean, you have no, exactly.
We have no idea.
And maybe it is our front office that just tells him, yo, you're starting, you're coming back, you're going to start. And if that's the case, yeah, you're right. Like, let's try the bench role. And that's why I said second or third step, because I think the second step definitely would be the bench if the bench isn't already the first step,
Yeah, I would say now that Chris put it like that, I would swap mine. I would try the bench. If you want to do a buyout and you want the buyout to be the third step, that's still the last step in my opinion, because you try the bench, and if the bench does not work, like if he does not want that role, if he does not accept that role, then we go to the trade market. And if the trade market is whatever, then you can go to the buyout if you just want him off the team that bad. But I don't think he'll ever get to that. But
Well, I don't think there's a team in the league that, like y'all just said, like I don't think there's a team in the league that would really want to trade much for him, especially on the contract deal that he has.
Yeah, I
If we get
mean,
a
but
buyout for him,
it doesn't
then he
have to
gets
be
to go to a
much.
contending
Yeah.
team.
It doesn't have
And
to be
that's what I'm
much
saying
because
though,
he's
like
gonna walk
because
away with for nothing anyways.
what was it? Kyle Anderson, right? Kyle Anderson had like retweeted somebody about them saying trading LA to Cleveland. And he said that Pop wouldn't do that. And that's because Pop wouldn't trade him to a bad situation. He would only trade him to a contending team
I
or a
think
good situation that would give him another contract next year. And so
I
it's
think
like
that
if we just buy, like if Cleveland's, if the teams like Cleveland, Sacramento, even like Washington or Chicago like offered us something for LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't think our team, I don't think Pop or anybody in the front office would want to send LA there. We would much rather give him a buyout to let him go to a contender before we would trade him to a situation like that.
we sent Kawhi to another country when he wanted to go to
Yeah,
the Lakers. And
that's a soiled relationship that wasn't good anymore. Whereas like our relationship with our players, you could tell the chemistry between everybody in that entire organization is fine. Nobody hates anybody. So it's like we're not gonna,
the thing is like we saw and I know the Indiana situation was not as bad as anywhere that we would probably send LA to, but like Pop traded away his favorite player, so I do think that would he trade him to somewhere that's not desirable right now? Yeah, he would, because I doubt that LA is his favorite player, and we saw Pop trade away George.
But we traded George Hill to get a piece to continue to
I know that.
We traded George Hill to get a piece that
like those examples are Pop like making the tough decision when it's a tough decision that like puts us in that good place, and he's not going to make that tough decision for like 2 second rounders or something like that.
But what I'm saying is like that was his favorite. Like he said that was his favorite player. So do I think that if Pop's like, yeah, trade my favorite player too, because we did not know, nobody knew. If people knew what Kawhi Leonard was, Indiana would have kept him, and then it would have been Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in Indiana way before. You know what I mean?
But it's still gonna be. It was still the fact that we were trading, and I know George wasn't exactly old, right? Like he was, how old was he? Like maybe 20, 26?
Paul George was young.
Ooey pooey.
Oh yeah, well he went to Indiana, right? To that IUPUI, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the hell. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, ooey pooey.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I mean, George Hill, even though he was young, like we still had Tony, we still had like the pieces to continue to contend. And
I'm not saying this.
And I don't think George Hill. I think we already knew that George Hill's future was going to be set here, and we're trading this to get maybe this, and it turned out to be this, right? It turned out to be a superstar in Kawhi Leonard, but I felt like we were trading George Hill, which could have been like like a solid piece. We're trading a solid piece in order to build a better piece. And like I said, it ended up turning into a bigger piece.
I'm not talking about situations. The only thing, like my point was like I don't think Pop would trade him away. I'm just like, if Pop traded away his best player to help the Spurs, why not? If Pop traded away his favorite player to help the Spurs, why not trade away this guy to help the Spurs? That's my point. Like I'm not talking about situations. Like I know that got brought up, but I'm just saying, if you were saying I don't think Pop would, and do I think Pop would? Yes.
I get what you're saying. I just feel like in terms of LA's market value, it behooves him to want to come back and to play well wherever it is that it's going to be, whether it's starting or on the bench. So I mean, I don't mind us bringing up the idea of putting him on the second unit when he comes back, and just seeing what does it change. I mean, we've had some pretty successful lineups with Jakob running the starting center. So I would be down. I would be down with putting him there. But yeah, I would agree. I would say buyout is like last resort. I would rather keep him on the roster and let him walk at the end of the next year as opposed to buying him out. Like what you know what I mean? Because at the very if we know that it's a transitional year, well, it's no disrespect to him. It's not like a disrespect to him to keep him on the team and then say, okay, look, now you can go choose to go wherever you want. You know what I mean? So, I would do that personally. I wouldn't. I don't think I'm ready to pull the trigger on anybody unless there's got to be some dynamite trade talks coming in for me to kind of pull triggers on any young people or any of that kind of stuff. So,
and obviously, like that all kind of boils down to how y'all see this season going, how I see the season going, because I'm still not even like.
Well, but even if our goals are the same, which is we know it's a transitional year, that still doesn't mean that like okay, that's we're putting this year in the context of a larger picture of we're trying to get better and back to like this bit, playing a certain type of basketball, winning a certain amount of games, and hopefully competing for championships. But you don't need to get rid of, like Josh was saying, you don't need to get rid of all of your vets and get all the assets all in one year.
And that's
you know
why
what I mean. So even if like I am hoping and I even if I think we're gonna make playoffs and you don't, I think we can still have the same mindset of like what we want to do with our older people. Like I think it's okay to keep our older people because I think we're gonna make the playoffs or not. Like I just think like where they are in their timeline, it just benefits us to just hold on to them. Their corporate knowledge and the things that they're gonna do to help our young guys for the entirety of this year, I think is bigger than any batch of second round picks that you're gonna get for them or any of that, in my opinion.
What if it was a first round pick? Now, probably a late first round pick, but what if it was a first round pick?
Honestly,
imagine if we do trade Rudy or LA, because I feel like those are the only two people that like I would be acceptable trading in that sense.
Yeah, I think DeMar cemented his roster spot for the rest of the year,
and then
probably Patty. Yeah, probably Patty too.
But like imagine if we traded either or we traded both to get a late first round pick in this next year's draft that's supposed to be loaded, when like we got Keldon Johnson with 29 and look what he's
now that is different, right? Like if a team thinks that Rudy Gay or LaMarcus Aldridge can put them over the hump right now and they're willing to give up a first round pick like in next year's draft, the one that we know is already pretty stacked, that might be a deal that you pull, because again, now that falls in line with your talks about like of what you can immediately get like next year, you know what I mean? But I mean,
what did Milwaukee give up for Drew? Did they have first round pick this year, like upcoming year?
Well, they traded a lot of first round picks and then the conditional ones to make it like if things happen, then the Pelicans still get the first round pick and stuff like that.
Because that's a team.
You can't trade consecutive. Right? You can't trade consecutive first round picks because of the Stephen rule. But Milwaukee doesn't really have any first round picks to give out anymore.
That's a team that's up there, that's struggling, that could use
another space forward.
You're saying Milwaukee?
Yeah.
But that's another team that like most of the contending teams, and that's why I feel like at least LaMarcus's trade market isn't as high. Most of the contending teams honestly don't have picks to go around anymore. They only have like some young pieces that are okay. Like
exactly, and that's why you're asking, well, what if somebody's going to give us a late first round? It's like who's going to give us a late first round?
A team like the Celtics would be like one of the teams that comes to mind. Like the Celtics, I don't know if the Heat have many more first round picks. Maybe like I can't even think of many more that come to my mind, because like in terms of contention, it's like the Clippers, Milwaukee, Boston. I really can't.
So I mean, you got top of the East: Philly, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Boston, Indiana, Toronto. That's 6.
I'll trade LA for Ben Simmons straight up.
Philly would have first round picks to give up. Unless yeah, because they traded for Tobias Harris and they didn't give up much, did they? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
that
I don't
was
remember a
years
lot of
earlier.
pieces being traded.
So,
And then
but I
they
guess
drafted Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid.
the point being is like that's why we're in the position we're in, is because he's our players are the ones that our players are the ones that would help a contending team, but they don't have the things that we need. In my opinion, anything that they're going to give us versus what we're going to get, what we're going to benefit from those veterans by keeping them, in my opinion, it's more valuable to our team to keep them. To help develop our young guys, because it's like, I always tell my students, I always say, look, next year, all the questions you're asking, there's going to be a brand new batch of people who are asking those exact same questions, but instead of you asking them to somebody, they're going to be asking you those questions. And so it's like, if we can keep all of our veterans for the rest of this year, because at some point now, Lonnie Walker and Keldon Johnson and DJ and White are going to be the ones having to answer questions to young guys. You know what I mean? So the more that we can, the longer you can keep corporate knowledge is, in my opinion, is just so valuable. You know what I mean? So I'm cool with hanging on to them again, unless some crazy offers come walking in, at the end of the month.
When is the trade deadline? What is like official trade deadline?
It's March. It's like the beginning of March. Let me just real quick.
Yeah, half a month left.
Yeah. Normally it's in February, but I think they pushed it back. Let's see. Where is it? 5 weeks away. Yeah. So yeah, that was from a couple of days ago. So in about 4 weeks or so. But yeah, so I think we'll kind of move on from that real quick. All right, so real quick, we'll just talk very briefly. We'll try to talk a little bit of Spurs potential basketball. I personally don't think we're coming back for the Wednesday game. I don't know. Does anybody want to talk about OKC?
I don't think so either. I don't see us coming back either.
If we do come back, it's our first game back, and we're trying to get our fresh leg started. It's gonna be a good game to get our leg started, because it's gonna be against OKC, who doesn't really have that great of a roster other than potential all-star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's OKC. Like, I mean.
Yeah, and we did a pretty decent job of like handling who we needed to handle the last time. Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, and to be honest, though, if we're speaking honestly, I'm pretty sure that like they would give us time to practice and all that kind of stuff prior to playing. So I think it's let's jump ahead, Jake, and let's start. Let's just look at the possibility, and I would say most likely. I mean, it's Sunday, so 6 days from now would be us playing the New Orleans Pelicans. So let's just kind of start there, or start and
our last game against New Orleans got canceled. Remember?
Yeah, exactly. So we've kind of been deferring our revenge games against these guys. We played them. So as Jake is kind of queuing that stuff up, we did play them the 27th of December. Yeah, we lost that one 95-98. So I have been ready. I mean, even like you said, when we were getting ready to play them that last time, man, I was like anxious to get back in there against them, because at the time we were dropping division games. And and on top of that, the West is so tight. Now, at this moment of the season, we look pretty good in terms of our standing for the division, but I'm not trying to let up on really anybody.
Nope.
Yeah. So Chris had gotten an IR report before we had started this, and it said that Steven Adams was day to day, so most likely he'll be playing.
Right.
But
Yeah, as of right now, he's questionable for tonight's game against Boston. So, 6 days, or I guess 5 days of recovery after tonight's game, or they might even play another one before they play us again. But yeah, just something to keep your eye on as we move towards when we play them would be Steven Adams, his ankle.
Yeah. So maybe it's tweaked by Saturday, whatever the case may be. But we'll go ahead and keep talking as if he is going to be in their lineup. And one thing that's a little bit under the notice is the fact that Zion's averaging 25 on 62% shooting. So we're gonna have to be watching out for people like Zion. Obviously, Bi still there, and Lonzo's kind of picked it up. But at the same time, we kind of have the luxuries of having JJ Redick in a bit of an off year at the moment. He used to averaging like 15. Now he's only averaging 8 on 38% shooting. So, we're just gonna kind of have to be looking out for the main two, Zion and Bi. And seeing if
And Brandon Ingram killed us last time.
yeah. So I mean. We'll see what we can do. Maybe Devin gets some solid PT against Bi. I've been liking this. I've been liking what his defense has been against star players, even though sometimes he makes his rookie mistakes. I feel like that defense is still good enough to let him be guarding some of those guys. Maybe not entire games, but a little bit of time to kind of give our defenders a bit of rest.
Yeah. Man, and so like when it comes to these games, the thing that like bugs me the most. Okay, so when I'm looking at the Pelicans in the standings, they're 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They're like right about where I would put them in this far into the year. Even though a lot of people like to put they have a lot of star power with Ingram and Zion, but I mean they're still young, and so it bugs me because like when we played them the first game, it just felt like one of those games where we were really sloppy, and it's like, yo, man, like you just put your head on your shoulders for like 10 minutes in a row, and you'll win the game. You know what I mean? You'll do the things that you need to do to get a couple stops, get over that hump, take the lead, and then try to hold them off. And so it was, and I know it was early, it was in December, but it's just frustrating when like it felt like a winnable game. And so like that's the thing that concerns me a little bit. We haven't played in a while. I don't want us to come out and look real sloppy, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we're finally starting to get our heads about us with like 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and now all of a sudden we're trying to cut into like a 12-point lead that's been a 12-point lead all game. Those games where like you just can't, you maybe you'll break a 10-point lead down to like 2 or 3 a couple times, but you never take the lead. Like those are the games that like that are the hardest to watch, and I hate when we have them against teams that are like, we should be beating these teams. It's frustrating when it's like, okay, let's say you're like playing the Lakers and you're like trying to get over the hump, but then you can never, they always kind of push you back a little bit. You kind of expect it, but like a team like this, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. So like I hope they give us time to practice, because I want to come in with a lot of good focus. We had mentioned not last week, but the 2 weeks ago, we were getting ready to play Golden State, and I had said like it's those games, man, when the teams just have a little bit of the flash, and they have the stage is raised a little bit because ESPN talks about these players or whatever, that sometimes the Spurs just like don't meet that moment. And sure enough, Steph Curry just like popped us in the mouth at the wrong time and beat us that one game. You know what I mean? So like I think Ingram and Williams have a little bit of that going on in their favor too. You know what I mean? They have a little bit of the hype, and Zion, Zion makes decent plays around the rim, and Ingram can make a shot too. So it's just like, I don't know, another opportunity. I want us to kind of silence the crowds a little bit on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that. I get that a lot. I mean, I would love to see us be able to hold down Zion, but like I feel like it's kind of crazy seeing that like he is having such a good stat line, and like it just not to say that it's like LaMelo's fault per se, but it kind of sucks because the media is just giving LaMelo so much attention that like Zion just got thrown away, because he's having a really good year, and it's like, all right, I definitely think another thing is just the fact that the Pelicans aren't winning games that much, that they aren't exactly taking that next step that everybody already thought they were going to be taking.
And Charlotte is right. Charlotte's like up there in the playoffs too.
Yeah, exactly. Charlotte's having a good season, so it's like it's very easy for the media to just be like, all right, let's talk about Charlotte instead of talking about New Orleans.
Something shiny and new.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, but I mean, as the promoters, they can only promote the losers so often. And then I mean at some point because it starts to look ridiculous. How many people at the beginning of the year were saying, why are they showing LaMelo so much? They're terrible. Look how low they are. You know what I mean? So it's like it becomes justifiable the more games that you're winning. So I get what you're saying. So man, hopefully you don't wish injury on anybody, but like if Adams isn't playing, if his ankle's still bothering him, then maybe Yak shuts Williams his rim game down a little bit, you know what I mean, and kind of takes his numbers down just a little bit. That would be great. If Yak can do his job to kind of diminish Williams a little bit, then we can gang defend Brandon Ingram a little bit. That'll be. I mean, Lonzo's a capable point guard, and Bledsoe's a decent option as well, and Hart. I mean, they have players for sure.
They have talent, but they just haven't been able to kind of bring it all together yet, and that's
exactly. Like I said, when I look at their standings and you see that they're middle of the road, it screams inconsistency, right? It screams that some nights they're good and some nights they're bad, and so it's like we can't control if they're going to have a good night or a bad night to 100% of the extent, but if we know that they're inconsistent, push them towards those bad games, push them towards the things that they are doing on those bad nights. You know what I mean? That's what I'm hoping that we see is us just play disciplined ball and push them into the things that they've shown us now. Teams show you over the course of the year the ways to beat them and the ways to lose to them. So I think that they've shown us enough of like the things that we need to do to get the win.
I just kind of want to point this out, but Zion has a better 3-point percentage than JJ Redick does.
Oh,
kind of shows his down.
I would still let back up and let Zion shoot all day.
Yeah, See, and so maybe Yak kind of forces him to. Maybe he makes him step out a little bit,
just like that. His first game ever.
Yeah, we won that game though.
Yeah, we did.
So, all right. Well, again, we only really have this one potential game, the most likely game for the week. So, we'll probably cut it short. Is there anything else that you guys want to talk in terms of Spurs news? I mean, we talked a little bit about Luka and Trey. Anything that you guys want to bring up?
I guess my thoughts and prayers go out to DeMar. He's going through a tough time. He lost his pops. I don't know if y'all guys saw. I'm sure y'all guys saw, but maybe our viewers or anything like that. But DeMar lost his pops. So just keep that man in your thoughts and prayers within the Spurs family,
Yeah.
I know he's going through it. So, just a shout out real quick.
Yeah, sure. We definitely got a lesson this week in terms of preaching what Coach Pop always talks about, which is that life is a lot bigger than basketball, and so not only with the health and safety protocols for COVID, having to cancel games is a reminder that basketball is not the most important thing. The weather that we were experiencing and some of the things that people are still going through, even though we're fortunate enough to kind of be past the thick of it. There's a lot of people in San Antonio and the surrounding Texas in general still dealing with the effects of what it was like to have a pipes bursting and not having food, or maybe the food you did have maybe got spoiled and went bad and all that kind of stuff. So and then like what Josh just said about DeMar DeRozan and his father. So I mean, a lot of reminders again that we love to talk Spurs and it's something that kind of unites us a little bit. But at the end of the day, make sure your family's safe. Make sure like those things are taken care of, and Spurs ball will be back at some point. When it's time. So, Jake, you have anything to add?
Nothing much. I think we're going undefeated this week.
Yeah, we'll take that 1-0. We'll take that 1-0.
1-0, or 2, possibly 2-0. We'll see.
Yeah.
Kind of mad.
All right, cool. Go
I'm
ahead.
kind of mad that we weren't able to get the rodeo road trip because I wanted to, like, Josh said that we were going undefeated for that rodeo road trip, and I'm not gonna lie, I was so ready for us to just take one loss this entire rodeo road trip, just so that I could just tell him how whack of a freaking thing it was to say that we're going undefeated.
But just think about it. You said we're only gonna lose two. Yeah, one game. Like it's not like I'm far off from you. So chill out, dog.
Yeah, but you said undefeated. Undefeated's a whole lot harder than losing 2 games.
It's still 2 games. What did you say? 5-2.
I think so. I think we both.
Yeah,
I think me and Chris both said 5-2, and
7-0.
I feel like that
7-0.
2-game cushion's a whole lot easier for us to handle.
It's just when you look at those teams, like,
undefeated.
yeah, do I think we're better than all those teams? I really do.
Yeah, we could be better than all those teams, but all those teams have also had spurts where they beat contenders. Well, they beat championship contenders. That's what I should say.
So did we?
You're calling us championship contenders this year?
No, you said beat. You said beat, right? Where they beat championship contenders?
Yeah.
And we
you're saying that so have we. Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, we have, but it's not like we're going to be beating. We're not going to be playing at the level to beat championship contenders every night.
You don't know that, dog.
Some nights they will.
You're putting us down here. You don't know what we're capable of.
I think you don't understand what teams are capable of. Other teams.
Really? Because you said we're not making the playoffs, and we're already proving you wrong. This is where we're at. This is where where predictions were. So
sure. We never know.
Yeah,
we're gonna put LaMarcus back in the lineup, and then we're gonna end up.
Yeah, we're gonna kill ourselves.
Well, just like Jake said, he was hoping that we were gonna lose games. So
that's horrible, right? That shows what kind of fan he is.
Just one game, man. One game out of an entire season.
No.
All right, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up for this week. Well, it'll be a pretty quiet week in terms of Spurs ball, but we'll probably get some more updates with Luka and Trey and those kind of things, and then as things kind of pick back up, we'll keep being here to kind of keep covering it. So, Jake's
computer died, so.
Jake's gonna sign off real quick on Josh's camera. All right, then this is the perfect time to get on out then. So thanks to anybody who jumped in and kind of hung out with us for a little bit today. We will see you next Sunday. If you see on the bottom of the screen, the 28th of the month. Man, February is already almost over. So be ready to see us next Sunday. We'll be here. We're here every single Sunday at 10 a.m. We go live on our YouTube channel, on our Twitch. Sorry, not Twitch. Cancel that. On our YouTube channel, on our Facebook channel, and through Periscope on Twitter, kind of all at once. Let me read this real quick.
Yeah,
Jake would rather have Spurs failure just so you can tell Josh. I told you so.
You were just reading that.
I won't say you're wrong, but I can't say you're right.
So it's bigger than basketball. Pettiness is bigger than the wins and the losses.
Exactly.
All right. Well, this is us signing out for this week. But go Spurs, go! We look forward to getting more action back into next week. So, bye-bye. Peace. Have a good day.